Welcome back and thanks for staying with the agenda. Now, yesterday in his weekly letter, President Cyril Ramaphosa spoke about the importance of professionalizing public service and transforming it into a group of men and women who are committed to serving the people of South Africa. We're joined now via Zoom by the Minister of Public Service and Administration, Minister Ayanda Dlodlo. Thank you so much for making the time to speak to us today. Minister, please unmute yourself. Can we hear you now?
Thank you for your patience.
Minister Dlodlo, first off, I know we're talking about public service, but if I may, I'd like to take you back to the weekend. Your bit at the funeral service of former Mkhonto weSizwe Military Veterans Association President Kebima Padzwe. You were one of the people he expressly gave an instruction that these people should speak at his funeral. Your work together in founding the organization must have made an impact on him.
Well, I guess it did, in the fact that he felt that I was one of those people that could speak to his life and times in the ANC, although I only started knowing him in 2005. The time that I spent working with him while I was the Secretary General of Mkhonto weSizwe and he the chairperson really should have made an impact in his life. We disagreed on many things, especially around the media statements that he made from time to time. But basically, the one thing that I can tell you about our fallen hero is that he loved the ANC, but he loved the people of South Africa so much more as well. He was all for the unity of all military combatants, ex-military combatants, including those that belong to other non-statutory forces. And he worked very hard at ensuring that the voices of those military ex-combatants is carried through the corridors of government and also makes its way to the homes of our people so that the plight of those that fought for this freedom could be well understood.
So a lot was said at the funeral, including the calls for former President Jacob Zuma to be released. Of course, developments have now gone ahead of us. There's now been that medical parole. The conversation that comes up now is how should the South African public be processing the party process of trying to bring together the MKMVA and the MK Council?
All of that work is underway, Desiree, to ensure that we sit and have this conference where the election of the new leadership would be effected, and that work would then in earnest begin to deal with quite a number of issues. The issues are not necessarily only about putting food on the table and ensuring that the children of ex-combatants do actually go to school and are supported by the state, but it also speaks to the heritage and legacy of all of the military combatants, including those from APLA and from Azanla. This work really is work that was supposed to have been done a long time ago. We also need to look into the issue of the repatriation of the remains of those that we left in exile so that their families can ultimately find closure and put their loved ones to rest.
It's an ongoing conversation, no doubt. Let's now speak about Public Service Month. You've just recently resumed your work at the department. What's your strategy, your plans going forward?
There's a few things that I'm looking at, Desiree, which really speak to the work that has been bestowed upon the organization by the National Development Plan, which is our Vision 2030. Its implementation is what is one of my priorities in ensuring that we have a public service that is fully professionalized. And its professionalization speaks to our ability, our agility, our adaptability in ensuring that services and quality services are delivered to the people of South Africa, that we remain reliable in the delivery of those services, that electricity is delivered to the people, that there is water running in running taps in homes of our citizens, that houses are built on time and to the best of quality as would be developed by the organizations that are responsible for ensuring that the quality of houses that are built are in line with the standards that have been set. The other one is also about the norms and standards in terms of our human resource capabilities, our human resource management, our ICT and information management and management. Those norms and standards should be in place by the end of the year to ensure that we're able to work in a seamless way where a person who is in Limpopo would receive the same quality of standard as a person who is in Gauteng. So those standards and norms must be uniform, applied uniformly, and that there should be very good checks and balances in place to ensure adherence to those norms and standards. The other one is about ensuring that the government employee housing scheme is fully implemented so that public servants can have houses, and those that fall within the gap where they are better off and cannot get the government housing, but also not good enough in terms of the salary that they earn for them to be able to get loans from banks. So the government employee housing scheme also becomes a priority for me to ensure that our people are given dignity and a roof over their head. The other one is about ensuring that ethics, integrity, and accountability in the public service is also highlighted and streamlined throughout the process, where supervisors would be enjoined to ensure that issues of ethics become part of their responsibilities. And also we should see that in their performance agreement, and that includes the heads of department, that whistleblowers should be protected, that the integrity of the organization, which is government as a whole, needs to be part of the development and the reforms that we would see in the public service. Across the board, whether it is with the public sector entities, which are state-owned companies, or it is at local government or national and provincial government. But those norms and standards around ethics, accountability, and good governance should cut across, and there should be ways of ensuring accountability. But that comes with the implementation of a performance management system that actually is agile, and that ministers and supervisors must ensure that these performance agreements are signed on time, and also the measurement of the performance of individuals is done on time.
Minister Dlodlo, in December, your predecessor, Minister Mchunu, approved the publication of the draft national implementation framework towards the professionalization of the public service for public comments. How far is that process? But I also want to ask you, isn't it concerning that so many years after democracy, we're only talking about the professionalization of the public service in 2021. One would imagine that this would have been as a matter of course from the beginning.
I think in a sense it was a matter of course from the beginning. Hence you saw that as one of the highlights in the National Development Plan, because you must remember that even the National Development Plan is a product of public consultation. So that process within government is still underway. We're almost at finalization stage, but it doesn't mean that we do not have the framework signed off and in place. The work that speaks to the professionalization of the public service is curtailed. It continues regardless of whether a framework does exist or not, because if you will see the National School of Government, which has been hugely capacitated, and the programs have been revamped, is also working at ensuring that what is required in terms of skills is given at the National School of Government. But we're also looking at partnerships with other organizations that could be able to help us. So that professionalization process is underway, not only from an education and training perspective, but also ensuring that the professionalization speaks to ensuring that we have the norms and standards. We have developed norms and standards. We have developed a unit within DPSA that is responsible for norms and standards. That is the process towards the professionalization of the public service, with or without a framework having been approved and signed off. Because as I said earlier on, that process of the development of the National Development Plan was inclusive. It took into account the views and aspirations of our people through a consultation process. So those things have been done. The fact that a framework is going to be approved very soon does not stop us from the work that is at hand.
So I want to ask you the kind of performance you expect to come out of public servants. How does this speak to the upcoming local government election? Because that's the cold face of public service delivery. But I also want to ask you, on the one hand, you're wanting to deliver services to South Africans, quality and efficient services. But on the other hand, you have these public servants who are aggrieved because they feel that they're not being paid well, might have signed a public service agreement with a government, but they feel that 1% is really not enough. How do you balance this out?
That's two issues that are very separate, Desiree. The one on the service delivery and the upcoming local government elections, but also just generally delivering quality services to our people, is properly addressed in the district development model that is being chaperoned and championed by various ministers under the leadership of COGTA. That's on the one hand. That speaks to a new service delivery ethos that ensures that there is streamlined and seamless planning and execution right down to the level of local government. So that model is in place. It has been adopted. Ministers and deputy ministers, including heads of departments, have been given responsibilities to ensure that that process is seamless. So the service delivery model and its execution has been taken care of in that regard. On the other hand, you were talking about the grievances with regards to the wage negotiations. There's a lot of things that we have undertaken to ensure that that process is accepted by unions. Some of the issues are before court. Some of the unions have signed the agreement as we speak. But you must remember that this is not an event. It's a process that is ongoing. We are in the process of looking also at a bill that speaks to the normalization of wages within the public service, and also ensuring that the wage negotiations processes are properly streamlined from provincial, national, and local government, but also to include the rest of the public sectors on your SOCs and stuff like that.
Minister Dlodlo, we're going to have to let you go, but just a quick one. Any activations you have planned for Public Service Month?
Yes, we do have quite a number. The President has launched Public Service Month, and I'm grateful for that. But we have quite a few things. I will just read out some of them. That we have a dialogue on constitutionalization of the public service. We will also have a dialogue on measures to improve financial and organizational performance and their systems in the organization. We have a full two-song service delivery week, which you will see throughout our country, and the actual launch of the technical assistance unit that looks into ethics and anti-corruption measures within the public service. So there's a lot of things that we'll be doing in this month, including the masterclass on reimagining and developing public service skills in the times of COVID.
We'll be looking out for all of those. Thank you so much for making the time to speak to us this morning.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great day.
The Minister in Public Service and Administration, Minister Ayanda Dlodlo.